Well, this was certainly more interesting than the last episode. Of course, you could have had 30 minutes of the Watcher vomiting into a trash bag and it would have been more interesting than the last episode. For real though, sarcasm aside, episode 8 at least felt like they were trying. It was, by a wide margin, the most interesting the show has been so far. It had a good core concept, the chain of events played out more or less logically, some of the characters were still making some pretty questionable decisions, but there was nothing I spotted that I thought shouldn't be there or shouldn't be happening because it happening wouldn't make sense. There were also some new ideas in there that made the episode feel more important than usual. I typically am not a fan of the Watcher interfering in the events he witnesses, but the idea that he's really tempted to do so because the stakes are so high does make the Watcher more compelling, I think. Also, this was where they pulled the trigger on the characters not just noticing that the Watcher is there, but engaging with him and pulling him into the story by force. And again, I'm a little iffy about that, but if you're going to do it, it needs to be treated as something really big and really unique and really special. And they accomplished that much. Ultron advances so far in his campaign to wipe out humanity and grows so powerful that he achieves a new level of consciousness, becomes aware of the Watcher's presence for the first time, and then the dominoes start falling. Okay, that's pretty good. And they treat it with a lot of gravity. There were definitely much worse ways to do this. Plus, I've always gotten a kick out of the idea of the villain winning and then having no idea what to do afterward. Like Ultron literally exterminates all life in the universe, and suddenly he's all, oh shit, what do I do now? You know, that's not something you'd normally think about because the good guys tend to stop these things before they get this far. But now Ultron's accomplished what he set out to do, and suddenly there's nothing left to do and he's drawing a blank. There's some nuance here, and he really doesn't have an answer until he realizes that there's a whole multiverse out there and he's still got plenty of people to kill. So that was good. I also quite liked the fight between Ultron and the Watcher. Now, I am confused as to why the fight was necessary, why Ultron couldn't simply snap the Watcher out of existence, and by that token, why he didn't just eliminate all life in the universe that way in the first place. Maybe you could make the argument that the Watcher is just on such a massive power level that this wasn't an option against him, but if that's the case, you need to explain it. That aside, this fight was pretty great. The visuals are terrific. Someone clearly worked very hard designing, storyboarding, and animating this sequence, and there's a lot of creativity there. You see Ultron smashing the Watcher through multiple different universes, punching him so hard he tears holes in the fabric of reality. At one point, Ultron appears to literally eat a universe. I don't even know what that means, but it definitely looked cool, and I couldn't not chuckle at the sight of Uatu headbutting Ultron. It was kooky, but fun kooky. I'm the Watcher. Puh! And then the twist at the end was actually good for once. It was logical, it made sense. Ultron is wiping out all life in every universe, so the only place the Watcher can find some help is a place where the universe doesn't exist anymore. And the Doctor Strange who destroyed his own universe was one of the very few characters from previous episodes that I wouldn't mind seeing again, so all that gets a thumbs up. I'm genuinely interested to see where they go with it. Now let's talk about all the stuff they f***ed up. First, I don't know what the writer's deal is where they think they need to inject a light-hearted, cheerful, quippy tone into every situation. The MCU movies and shows do all have a certain tone to them, and maybe it just doesn't translate well to animation, but more often than not, this feels like the writers are parodying that tone rather than emulating it, especially in the zombie episode, good God. Thankfully, episode 8 was not nearly as bad as that one in this regard. Most of it is played very serious, but not as much as you'd think. There were several scenes where characters would be trying to make jokes and stuff, and guys, this is not the time. Like in one scene, Natasha and Clint are raiding a KGB warehouse. Natasha pulls the Red Guardian's shield out of a box, and she's all, "Hey Clint, check it out. Is this my color?" Ultron has taken over everything. He's nuked the whole planet. It's the end of humanity. Billions of people are dead, not to mention everyone else in the universe. Why are you doing silly banter right now? Even the Doctor Strange, who destroyed his own universe, is surprisingly upbeat. Doo-doo-doo, here I am, trapped in a prison of my own making after I destroyed my entire universe. Hashtag living the dream. And weirdly enough, the story this character came from was one that was actually played straight for the most part and didn't have that jokey, quippy tone. It was a dark story that was allowed to be a dark story, and it was better for it. It still had problems, but that wasn't one of them. Then you've still got all the usual stupid stuff that I'm getting more and more impatient with. The episode begins with Clint and Natasha in the ruins of a city that's been laid waste to by Ultron. They're apparently the last two people left alive anywhere. Why were they spared when everyone else was killed? Because if they hadn't been, the story couldn't happen. Clint is taking out multiple Ultron drones with arrows. And no ordinary man-made drones, mind you. Drones Ultron created with the Infinity Stones. So I have to assume that these are some super special badass arrows. Otherwise, that's kinda stupid. These drones could just use their laser beams to try to take Clint out from a distance, but instead, for some reason, they fly in to fight him hand to hand, only for Clint and Natasha to easily destroy said drones with their bare hands and melee weapons. We're already kinda straining credibility here, and that's before Clint falls off a building, plummets 5 or 6 stories, and crash lands in a fall which, by all rights, should have killed him instantly. And sure enough, he gets right up and dusts himself off. He's perfectly fine, not even bruised. Did Clint gain super strength or something in a deleted scene they forgot to show us? Not that I'm aware of. So how the hell did he survive that fall? But don't start thinking the writers had the audacity to give a straight white male plot armor. Clint dies a few scenes later, which Natasha isn't even that upset about, by the way. She makes a frowny face for a few seconds, and that's it. They just move on. Though, to be fair, that's more of a reaction than Bucky had when he was forced to kill Steve in the zombie episode. Yeah, I'm still annoyed about that. Anyway, Clint dies covering their escape from the Hydra base where they devised their brilliant plan to stop Ultron. Are you ready for this? Downloading a copy of the Arnim Zola AI from Captain America Winter Soldier and infecting Ultron with it. Because the Arnim Zola AI is somehow powerful enough to overcome Ultron armed with the Infinity Stones. That's their plan. They're going to infect Ultron with a virus, basically. They're gonna Independence Day this shit. I mean, I guess that's better than no plan at all. And it's not like they're spoiled for options here, but still, this is kinda dumb. About as dumb as the way Thanos dies. Thanos shows up on Earth with the Infinity Gauntlet right as Ultron has taken over. Ultron's like, hey, cool gauntlet. I want that. So he lasers Thanos in half, and Thanos dies just like that. Which might have been cool if not for one thing. So you're telling me that Vision's body was powerful enough to kill Thanos this easily? If that's the case, why didn't Vision just do that when he met Thanos in Wakanda during Infinity War? He didn't have Ultron's killer instinct, sure, but Jesus Christ, Vision could have stopped the snap before it even fucking happened! Why were they going through this whole song and dance about removing the Mind Stone from Vision so they could keep it safe from Thanos, when Vision could have just used the Mind Stone to kill Thanos in a second and be done with the whole thing? Come on! Why does this show relish so much in nerfing Thanos over and over? I don't get it. So Ultron gets all the Infinity Stones, he goes on a massive killing spree, wiping out all life in the universe, except Natasha, apparently. Again, I don't know why he doesn't just snap everyone out of existence. If he had, then the episode would have ended too early, I guess. Instead, he annihilates civilizations one by one. Asgard, Xandar, Sakaar, all those places. It's all very dark and frightening, I guess. But there is one unintentionally hilarious part when he runs into Captain Marvel, and she greets him with this line that I have to quote for you word for word. Listen, Skynet, I've seen the Killer Robot movie, and I gotta say, I really don't think it needs a sequel. You're almost right about that, Carol. It needed one sequel. Just one. After that, they should have just stopped. Okay, so I went on a little rant on Twitter about how bad and eye-roll worthy that line was, but I've changed my mind a bit since then. It's not that the line is bad, because if you think about it, this is something Tony or Star-Lord or maybe even Spider-Man would say. And if they said it, it would have sounded fine. It would just be a charming little bit to break the tension before the fight starts. So why, when Captain Marvel says it, does it come off like a total groaner? because Captain Marvel has no charm. See, this is one of the problems with Captain Marvel. They're trying to fit her into the same box as the other MCU characters, where they all kind of use the same style of humor. But it's very awkward with her because those other characters have personality and charisma and senses of humor. Hell, even Doctor Strange makes a joke now and then. And the reason it works for them, and by extension their characters, is because they're all aware that the situations they find themselves in are, by their nature, kind of ridiculous, and they don't mind leaning into that and embracing the comic bookness of it all. But for some reason, Captain Marvel just doesn't. Now, I'm not sure if this is due to Brie Larson maybe having no comedic chops and that bleeding over into the character or what. For the record, Larson didn't voice the character here, but she's still coming off the same way. But if Tony or Peter Quill said that line, it would be in kind of a wry way where we know that they know the line is corny, but they're saying it anyway because it's fun. And the characters being self-aware of that corniness is what makes them seem cool. That's what's missing here. Captain Marvel doesn't have that self-awareness. She's just saying it completely serious and deadpan because she thinks it's a badass thing to say, which it isn't. So the line falls flat, and instead of looking cool and witty, she just comes off like a buzzkill. The result being that you're almost kind of rooting for Ultron, the guy who's in the process of murdering everyone in the universe to kick her ass. Which, thankfully, he does. Short version, Captain Marvel tries and fails to sound cool, and then Ultron kills her. Yay, Ultron? Yeah, probably not the reaction I was supposed to have to that, huh? So there you go. This is the best episode What If has done so far, with Ultron and the fight with the Watcher being big high points, but still not a perfect episode by any stretch, and many of the problems I have with the show don't seem to be going anywhere. It did look like they were really trying with this episode, and they get points for effort, but unfortunately, a not-so-good writer who's really trying is still a not-so-good writer. But we'll see. Supposedly the next episode is where everything comes together, and we see how they've been laying the groundwork for this story the whole time. I guess it's possible they could still pull something really awesome out of the hat here, but if the payoff required us to go through 7 or 8 bad episodes just to get to 1 or 2 good ones, is that payoff really gonna be worth it? To be continued. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed or hated this video or this episode, let me know in the comments. Ding the bell icon and follow my social media to always be notified when I upload new stuff. I also have a live streaming channel. All the links are down below. Thumbs up the video, share, subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed. That one's important. Always make sure you're still subscribed, and I'll be back with more very soon. So stay tuned for that. Do all the YouTube things, and I'll see you next time.